people hiked into the Ural Mountains in January 1959. None of them came back. But that's not the part that keeps investigators awake. The part that does, the part that has never been fully explained, is what they found at the campsite. The tent had been cut open from the inside. All 9 of them fled barefoot into negative 25-degree weather, in the dark, in the snow, away from their supplies, their boots, their warmth, away from everything they needed to survive. And then they died. My name doesn't matter. What matters is this case. And the deeper you go into it, the less anything makes sense. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. He was experienced. They all were. Experienced hikers, skiers, people who had done this before in conditions just as brutal. Their destination was Otorten, a mountain in the northern Urals, grade 2 difficulty, routine for a group like this. On February 1st, 1959, they made camp on the eastern slope of a mountain locales called Kholat Syakhl. In the Mansi language, that translates to Dead Mountain. They never made it to Otorten. Search teams found the tent on February 26th. It had been set up on an exposed slope, which was unusual. Experienced mountaineers don't camp on open slopes. They camp in sheltered valleys. Someone made the decision to camp there anyway. The tent was partially collapsed. The outside was intact, but the inside had been slashed open in multiple places. From the inside, investigators confirmed, and the 9 occupants had forced themselves out through those cuts and into the night. Their footprints led down the slope. Calm, deliberate steps, not running, walking as if they had made a decision together to leave and were carrying it out in an orderly fashion. Then the footprints disappeared into the snow. The first 5 bodies were found at the tree line, roughly a mile from the tent. 3 of them were in the remnants of a small fire. 2 others had died trying to return to the tent. They were found between the tree line and the campsite, as if they had changed their minds and turned back. The bodies showed no signs of external trauma, no weapons, no animal attacks. The official cause of death for those 5 was hypothermia. But then they found the other 4. They were buried under 4 meters of snow in a ravine. They weren't found until May, and they were different. 1 had a fractured skull. 2 had severe chest fractures, broken ribs, damage consistent with the force of a car crash. 1 was missing her tongue, her eyes, and part of her lips. The fractured ribs showed no bruising on the skin, which means the force that broke them did not come from outside. Whatever caused the internal injuries left the skin intact. The forensic expert at the time said the force required was comparable to a car crash at high speed or a massive shockwave. There was no external evidence of either. The clothing on some of the bodies tested weakly positive for radiation. Soviet authorities closed the investigation after 3 months. They classified the files. The official conclusion was that the group died from an unknown compelling force. That phrase, unknown compelling force, appears in the Soviet case file and has never been formally clarified. The files were partially released in the 1990s, then sealed again. Russia reopened the investigation in 2019. Their conclusion, an avalanche, combined with poor conditions, caused the group to flee. The problem with the avalanche theory is that there was no evidence of one. No disturbed snow on the slope. No avalanche debris. The tent was still partially standing, and the footprints leaving the tent were calm, not panicked. The problem with every theory is the same. None of them explain all of the evidence. The tongue, the radiation, the internal injuries with no external marks. The decision to leave the tent, warm, sheltered, stocked with food, and walk barefoot into a Siberian night. There are things investigators have never been able to account for. Photographs developed from cameras found at the scene showed images taken in the hours before the group died. Most were routine trail shots. But one, a photo taken in darkness with the lens pointed at something, showed only a blur of orange light. It was the last photo taken on any camera that night. Witnesses in nearby villages reported seeing glowing orange spheres moving through the sky over the Ural Mountains in late January and early February 1959. Military personnel stationed in the region filed similar reports. None of it was ever investigated. In 2008, a former Soviet investigator who had worked the original case gave an interview. He said that when they found the campsite, there was something else in the snow that wasn't included in the official reports. He didn't say what it was. He said he'd signed something that prevented him from saying. He died 2 years later. 9 people, experienced, prepared, careful, dead in the snow, barefoot with broken bones no one can explain, a missing tongue no one has ever accounted for, and radiation on their clothes. They cut their way out of their own tent and walked into the dark. Whatever they were running from, they didn't survive it. The mountain is still there. Hikers still go. The Soviet case files are still partially classified, and the photographs from that last night have never been fully explained. Some questions don't have answers. Some cases don't close. Some things that happened in the Ural Mountains in February 1959 are still officially unknown. Dead Mountain kept its secret. It still has.